Boom, shakalaka boom. You know the sound. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live on 103.9 FM, WYAB, streaming worldwide in stunning HD on the Save JXN. That's Save Jackson, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. If for some reason you can't find it like that, search Clay Edwards Show. It'll pop up. You'll see the live now thing. You hit it, and it's just that dang easy. You also get a little bit of extra content during the commercial breaks sometimes, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get dead air. Sometimes you get commercials. Whatever I'm feeling like in that moment. You can always go back if you miss any of it. You can go back and watch the show on any of those platforms that I just mentioned. You can also go and listen to the audio-only podcast. We cut all the commercials out of it, try to shorten it up and make it as easy and convenient of a listen as possible. We do leave the live reads in, but you can fast forward through them if you so choose. I don't recommend it. They keep the show on the air. You know, you never know what you may learn or discover, but neither here nor there. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all of those great apps. The show is on them. Just search Clay Edwards Show and hit subscribe today. Want to make sure that we stay focused on those audio-only platforms. They got us through a lot of the censorship, the COVID era, when we weren't allowed to say anything on the big tech platforms. The audio-only ones, for whatever reason, never scanned it, never used AI to kick us off there or anything. So want to stay loyal to them. Want to make sure we're continuously pushing over to the podcast platforms. Because, I mean, that's what a real podcast, by definition, well, I don't know if it's by definition, but traditionally speaking, the podcasts are the audio-only things on Apple, Spotify, or iTunes podcast, whatever you want to call it, Spotify, and those apps. Then they don't include video. But somewhere along the way, now we just call two people talking on the internet a podcast. Whether it's in video, whether it's in audio, whatever. And I mean, honestly, it's just people talking in general now. A talk show is now called a podcast. People ask me all the time, you have a podcast? I'm like, no, I have a radio show that we podcast. I do not necessarily have a standalone podcast by definition of what I would call a podcast. I used to have a podcast, the Save Jackson podcast. That's what started all this. But then it became a morning radio show that we also podcast so people can go back and listen at their convenience. Splitting hairs here. But as I like to say, anybody can have a podcast. Everybody can't have a radio show. It's just that simple. Everybody can't have the morning drive slot on WYAB, the midday, the afternoon. You know, you gotta get out and hustle to get these spots. You gotta be able to sell ads. You gotta do a lot of work. I'm not saying podcasters don't do work. Please don't take that way. A lot of them do. A lot of them bust their butts. But the show is a radio show that you can also podcast. I don't know. Didn't mean to jump down that, get on that soapbox this morning, but sometimes I just like to. Man, I was listening in, and we got a lot to talk about this morning. I was listening to a little bit of Gary Vaynerchuk coming in this morning. He's a social media marketing guru. If you're ever thinking about, if you're a business owner out there, you're thinking about marketing, thinking about social media, what works, what doesn't. He's a really good listen. Goes by Gary V. I think it's like Gary VEE across social media if you need to find him. He's a really good listen. And he's talking about the big thing right now on social is organic videos, not ads, not paid ads. It's like, what can you do to tell your story organically where it doesn't feel like you're trying to sell people something? And frankly, I've noticed that trend for the last decade or so. Your posts need to be very organic. They need to tell a story. They need to have an ability to go viral They necessarily don't even have to have anything to do with your business. You just need good content. But anyway, that aside, he was talking about AI a lot this morning. And I'm telling y'all guys, it's coming whether you're ready or not. You might as well download Grok. That's the one I use. That's the EI. That's the X, Elon Musk AI, the unwoke AI. And you don't have to even have X to do it. You can download just the Grok, just Grok app. And I think there's a free version, but there's also a paid version. And or Chat GPT. I'm not going to use Chat GPT for the stuff I do because it's very anti right wing. So it doesn't answer a lot of the questions I need answered, or it won't give me good content for like the show prep. But I use it for show prep sometimes. Anyway, I can't tell y'all enough. If you're not using AI, you need to use it like a virtual assistant, if nothing else. Just like you use Google, use AI instead of Google. You will get way more informative answers, way more information. It's just better. It's better across the board. And you choosing to play hardhead, I don't need it. That's AI is the devil. Okay, well, it may be. But don't get left behind and not know how to do anything in 5 years because you thought it was a fad or you thought it was the devil. AI is coming with or without you. All these big facilities they're building up there in Madison and all these places, these cloud facilities, that's all for AI. It's all computing power for AI. The biggest companies in the world are investing tens of billions of dollars in Mississippi for these cloud facilities for AI. They're going to make sure that we're all using AI. So if you choose to be a part of the technical revolution, this is what you're seeing now. And younger folks, what you're seeing now with AI is what my generation, Gen X, saw with the internet. That's how big AI is going to be in all of our lives, in every aspect of it. It's going to create a lot of jobs, and it's going to destroy a lot of jobs. It's just that simple. It's going to crush some things, but it's also going to create a lot of opportunity for those who aren't scared to use it. I highly recommend just Google or go to AI or go to YouTube is a good place. And just start looking for AI for beginners. I mean, if you just really rudimentary information, just learn about it. Learn how to use it. Learn some of the things it can do because it can do so much that it can be overwhelming at times. I mean, it'll draw pictures for you. I haven't figured out how to get it to do that worth a crap yet. Like I would love for AI to make my thumbnails for my videos. I would be able to do so many more videos if I could figure out how to make AI make my thumbnails for me like I see so many other people do. But your boy just has not taken the time to really figure it out. It's on my hit list to do that. But it's the best advice I can give y'all is learn AI. It is going to be a huge part of our lives. Hopefully it don't go full Skynet on us and kill us all. Because I do feel like we teeter on that edge of chaos, like with Terminator, that we're going to be sending somebody back from the future to try to destroy the AI. But unfortunately, we're all in. So you might as well enjoy it. But something else Gary Vee said that I thought was very interesting, and it's something I've been seeing a lot lately. It's something I've noticed a lot lately. I don't remember who I was telling this the other day. Facebook. And I haven't looked at the numbers. Facebook feels like it is the number one social media app in the world again right now, at least in America. I feel like people are back on Facebook and using it more than ever. I really do. I think it has a lot to do with what Zuckerberg came out and said. He's kind of taking the chains off and letting people have discourse. And it's truly becoming the town square again. The censorship seems to have been throttled back a lot. I mean, look, y'all know my content. I've gotten in trouble over Facebook a lot. I lost a 50,000 follower, the original Save Jackson page. I lost my personal account that I'd had for 12 years, all the memories, everything. I mean, really, really hated losing that account. I had to start over from scratch. I mean, I built it back up. I'm, I think, about to be 39,000 followers on the big page, but it gets a ton of engagement. And they actually give me notifications now that said, yes, Clay, you have, we are now promoting your content. Like, they're pushing my content out and recommending it to more people than ever. And I can tell from the numbers that my content is doing better than ever. So Facebook appears to be standing by, or Mark Zuckerberg, Meta, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, they appear to be standing by what they said a few months ago after Trump got elected, when he was going to take the restraints off of Facebook and Instagram and actually let people have true discourse and conversation that the left may not like, which the left doesn't like anything. Like, if you gave the left the option to post on social media but have to deal with people and other opinions that they may not like, or just destroy social media and make it go away forever, the left would always pick destroy it and make it go away forever over maybe having to have a conversation with somebody they disagree with. But it's been fun. It's been fun. So I guess I don't know what I'm getting at here. I guess we won. It's the moral to the story. We won. We got true discourse back on what I consider the biggest, most important social media platform out there. TikTok's gone to hell. It just, all that fighting for TikTok, and it's gone to hell. I can barely get a video to do anything there. I've talked to other creators dealing with the same thing. TikTok's trying to force people to put TikTok shop ads in there in the middle of your videos. I mean, can you just see me there with my FAFO championship belt going, we got us a brand new F'd around and found out. But first, this is brought to you by, have you tried these creatine gummies? I don't really want to do that. I'd rather do, hey, how about you buy the shirt I'm wearing? So I don't know. TikTok seems to be flailing, at least for me. But where it's lost a step, Facebook and Instagram have picked it up. X has always been an interesting platform, Twitter, whatever you want to call it for me. I get stuff to go viral once in a blue moon there. But all that is politicos arguing with politicos. And that doesn't really do anything for me. I don't mind having an argument with an individual, but I would really rather have real conversations with normal people, everyday people. I think you get that on Facebook more than anything else. Also on Facebook, I can just post a picture with my family on my personal page, or I can talk about my truck or football or whatever. On those other platforms like X, they only want you to talk about political stuff, no matter what, or no matter what you post. The people there drag it down into, but political. Anyway, I don't know what you got out of that first segment this morning. If you're a business owner, if you're a content creator, focus on Facebook. A lot of organic reach right now. And, of course, advertise with the Clay Edwards Show, because my advertisers get a lot of mentions and shares and posts on my Facebook page that are going viral and getting a lot of organic action. And I understand that. I understand how to write a good post for your business that doesn't look like an ad, to look organic. Holler at me, clay@wyab.com, clay@wyab.com. We got 2 slots available here on the show. Would love to fill them up with the right business. And, of course, we still have the studio sponsorship available. It's the big one. If you're ready to make a nice commitment in 2025 to really branding your business and getting it out there to one of the most loyal, engaged, largest radio audiences in Mississippi, the Clay Edwards Show, and frankly, every show here at WYAB. We have two different versions of the studio package. You can sponsor just my show, or you can sponsor the entire station. Now, that is an exploding offer because if Kim Wade sells his sponsorship or I sell my sponsorship, you won't be able to do the whole station. You'll only be able to do the shows that are still left, and vice versa. If you want to do the whole, you got to better act now, because I am actively trying to sell my studio to somebody. So anyway, Facebook and AI, that's the lesson of the day. Use AI, and if you're not using Facebook, give it a try again. They've taken the handcuffs off, and organic engagement seems to be really, really good right now on Facebook. Because, we're going to get a couple years down the road, and all this social media stuff it's not going to go away. But as soon as they move us away from these phones into whatever the next device is, and they're all in on these glasses and these other devices. I mean, y'all know, we're not going to be toting these phones in our pockets forever. This has peaked. Like, Apple's not selling more phones this year than they did last year. Like people are not nearly as excited about the phones as they used to be. So they're trying to figure out what's the next thing. There will be a next thing, and I believe it'll be here in the next 4 to 5 years. So the way we do content, the way we consume content, the way these social media networks are, is going to be completely different. So if you understand the old way and you want to take advantage of the old way while it still exists over the next few years, the time is now. Don't wait. This is the Clay Edwards Show. When we come back, your boy got the scoop on what really happened up there in Madison County yesterday with the court clerk's office being suspended without pay or with pay, then apparently not being suspended with pay, being forced to take a polygraph test, whatever it is. I think we got the details. I'm going to have to layer it with a big old allegedly, but stay tuned. We're going to lead off with that. We're going to talk about Trump tariffs, Stephen A. Smith running for president, and much, much more. Got a banger planned for you this morning on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show, the most incendiary show on all of the RADIO. 103.9 FM WYAB, streaming in stunning HD, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble at Save JXN. And, of course, don't forget the podcast is always available on Apple, Spotify, iTunes. I know Apple, iTunes, same thing. Podbean, Stitcher, wherever you download podcasts, even on Audible, where you're listening to books, you can download the podcast there. And hit subscribe. If you're on those social media networks, hit that little bell. Get notifications when your boy posts or when I go live. Hit the share button right now if you're watching live. That's how we grow this thing. It's all about growth. If you ain't growing, you're dying. If you ain't growing, you're dying. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Men's Health of Mississippi, right out there in Madison County. Guys, girls, let me talk to y'all for a second. We talk to guys a lot. Girl, it's close to summertime. What if I told you that they have the semaglutide out there? That's right, the compounded semaglutide, where so many other places are no longer able to sell the compounded version. Men's Health in Mississippi still can. That's right. But it's actually in their clinic called New Care, which connects to Men's Health in Mississippi, but it's all owned by the same people under one roof. Text weight loss. Guys, you can do this too, by the way. You can do this too. It's worked well for me. Text weight loss to 601-327-8550. 601-327-8550. And get signed up and get started today. You'll have that beach body ready. shake off some of that hoodie weather body and get that beach body, get that bikini body ready, ladies. But don't forget, some of us like a little thick. Don't overdo it just because you can, ladies. I mean, look, I like a little thick more than I like a little skinny, so don't overdo it. Just throwing that out there. You shake that belly off a little bit, but leave that booty. Text weight loss to 601-327-8550. Men, like I said, you can do the same. Maybe you want to do your testosterone. They're offering them free testosterone screenings. Text that same number, but text Clay, 601-327-8550. Some of the symptoms for low testosterone are fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, that's your sex drive, brain fog, and sleep disturbances. And one surefire way to know if you are suffering from low testosterone is if the morning wood is no longer a thing. That's just one of the best ways I can tell you. It's like, oh man, it has been a while since I woke up with a flagpole sitter. Yep. So that's probably due to low T. Text Clay, 601-327-8550. That's Men's Health in Mississippi. All right, man. Let's jump into it, shall we? Let me get that off the screen there for the folks. I'm sure they don't want to see that constantly. Let me pull up my notes here. And we're going to discuss real quick what actually happened up there in Madison County yesterday, because the news was very, very vague about it. And coming up in the next segment, Matt Bishop, who was here from 6A to 7A this morning, he's winding down his time here at WYAB, at least his full time. But, I'll let him tell you all about that. But we're going to have him come back in here and discuss these tariffs. I haven't talked a whole lot about it because, I'll be honest. Well, this is called filler time. My notes are loading, so I promise I'm not jumping down a rabbit hole here. We are going to talk about the Madison County stuff. But I haven't talked a whole lot about the tariffs because, look, I understand that there's stuff that I'm very familiar with that I can talk about, and there's some stuff that are just kind of above my skis. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'd rather not talk about something that sounds stupid trying to pretend I know what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, way too many people nowadays don't use those same guardrails. They think that they can go read a little bit about something, or they'll go listen to their favorite content creator tell them something about it, and they'll just go parrot whatever they said and pretend that they know what they're talking about, and then they don't. Now, I have an opinion on them. That I do have an opinion based on what little bit of information I have, but our boy, Mr. Bishop, is pretty well versed in it. And we're going to see what he has to say about the Trump tariffs and the fallout over the last couple of days. Does he like what's happening? Does he think Trump's playing the right hand, right strategy? We'll find out here in the next segment. But first, here we go. Let's talk about what happened out there in Madison. Because it was funny. Per usual, y'all know what they do. All the inferiority complex suffering individuals in Jackson's just blow up tagging me anytime something happens somewhere else. It's comical at this point. Like, I wondered, did they know that that she was a black lady? Probably not. Probably not. They usually, really what they like tagging me in is when white people do stuff. Because once they realize it's usually somebody black outside, they think, oh man, I don't even want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. But, so it looks like the Madison County supervisors voted unanimously to place Justice Court Clerk on paid leave for absence, on a paid leave of absence, and require the clerk and every employee in the office to submit to a polygraph test as part of an investigation into her office staff, to the office staff. And a polygraph is also known as a lie detector test out there this morning for anybody in the cars that were not aware. It looks like the action took place during the executive session on Monday. Initially, Supervisor Gerald Steen made a motion to place Clerk Cheryl Clark Horn and two other employees, Dominique Walden and Zach Buckner, on paid leave of absence, but the motion died for lack of a second motion. Look, I'm just going to tell y'all, the minute I read somebody by the name of Dominique was involved, Dominique has 4 vowels in his or her first name, which just tells me automatically they are guilty of whatever they're charged of. Watch. Just remember this, clip this out. Now, this is my opinion, so I'll say allegedly. Whatever they're accused of, they did it, most likely, because that's 4 vowel behavior for sure. It's a trend. I just look at the trends. Trends don't lie. Men lie, women lie, numbers and trends, they don't lie. Dominique is a 4 vowel name. So whatever they did, whatever they're accused of, they most likely did it. Just remember that. Put that in the back of your brain there. The more vowels, the more criminality. Look, I didn't invent math. Get mad at the Romans. So it's unclear what Buckner does for the office. I was like, you know what? None of this even matters. Let's just get to the rumors, because they didn't put any of that in there. The rumor is, word on the street is that, and this is from my source here, I just copied and pasted this into my notes. It says, so the clerk in Madison found money missing, was trying to find out where it went, then money went missing again. This time she reported to the superintendents, to the supervisors, I mean. They asked, why didn't she report before? Now she has a new employee. He was the one that allegedly took the money to the bank, or he was the one that took the money to the bank. The bank calls and says, no money in the bag. Guess who the new employee is? His mom is the assistant to the county administrator. There's a lot of nepotism going on up there in Madison County. So what I'm being told happened is this. Somebody's been taking the money to the bank, allegedly, of course. Let's just say they're taking $2,000. Well, only $1,500 is getting deposited. I mean, so this is going to be all very traceable. This is some real stupid criminal stuff here. I mean, just shorten the deposit and writing a new deposit slip, I guess. That's what they're saying happened. I've got this from several sources. Some of them involved. This ain't just word on the street stuff. We'll just say that. These are sources I trust. So, again, got to say allegedly to protect ourselves here. But that's what I'm hearing. This is some of your just low-grade, stupid, smooth-brained criminal activity of just old-fashioned stealing money. So that is what allegedly happened up there in Madison yesterday with that clerk getting busted. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to discuss tariffs. Frankly, the idea of discussing tariffs bores me to no end, but it's very, very important what's going on out there with this. Trump just slapped 104% tariffs on China. China just struck back with adding, I think, 50% more to us this morning as America. So we were in a peeing contest with China, kind of a standoff, pants off, dance off with China. We're going to discuss tariffs, what this plan for Trump looks like, how long will this last, can it work, is the short-term pain worth is the long-term pain worth the short-term gain? I'm not invested in the stock market, for full disclosure, on any levels, period. So it doesn't necessarily affect me in the sense that it affects y'all, but it affects all of us in some form, fashion, or another with these tariffs, because even things that you don't think are made in China got something on them made in China. I was talking to my brother-in-law last night who owns a furniture store. I asked him how they were affecting him. He said they're pretty good. Most all of their suppliers are American made, but like even in I don't even want to say the name brand, But even in a reclining chair, there may be an electric reclining chair. Maybe the motor is from China, so it could cause the price to go up. Little stuff like that. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to have Matthew Bishop back in here discussing tariffs on the Clay Edwards Show. Y'all don't go nowhere. We will be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This segment brought to you by Ellis Autoplex. Guys, get over there at 471 today in Flowood, Mississippi, and check out the all-new Ellis Autoplex. I say all-new because they've done a lot of work over there, man. I swung by and saw Casey and the crew the other day. Man, they've repaved that parking lot. They've done some work on the building, added to the inventory. Just got a lot going on over there. Looks great. Man, it looks great over there. Man, I'm telling you, after working there for a year and then seeing that parking lot repaved like it is, it's like a whole new dealership. Really, really nice. No sinkholes or anything.
That was a good sign.
Big old investment into it, man. People investing real money back into small businesses, man.
That's what it's all about.
It is. I mean, and truly investing into Rankin County there, a couple $100,000 or more into paving a parking lot and doing a few little modifications. Yep.
It's still great prices, I imagine, even though they got the new stuff. I know it's always people's worry, they got the new thing, but I'm sure they still have the great prices over there, too.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, you can't do is up your prices in the car business just because you spent some money.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't how it works. The customers don't care.
Nope.
I mean, they really don't. They're like, well, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I mean, this is what the vehicle's worth.
Right.
Now restaurants can kind of get away with that a little bit by open food price because, it's not really a negotiation.
Right.
Cars where people shop like that. Same with like banks, and nobody really cares how the bank looks. What's that rate?
Exactly.
It's pretty cut and dry. But yeah, y'all get over there, Ellis Autoplex, Little Truck City, home of the largest selection of pre-owned 4-door, 4-wheel drive trucks in the entire area. And of course, guys, girls, don't worry, they got cars and SUVs too. Swing by, check them out. They're also now doing major automotive repairs. So if you need something done to your vehicle, let them do it. They can work on anything, but I tell you, just because they sell so dang many F-150s, especially those EcoBoosts, if you're having any issues with your EcoBoost or your regular F-150, swing by, let them check it out. Don't go spend that money letting the dealership fix your vehicles.
Yeah, well, it also tells you that you're getting a good car there, too, because they have their mechanics on site. So they know the trucks that they're selling are going to have that good, that attention to detail when they get them in. So
yeah, they recon. We call it reconning in the business. When you recon and, recondition, get it ready to sell. So they've experienced a lot over the years. You buy enough of the same vehicles, the same problems tend to occur. Well, I mean, those same problems happen to people's vehicles that are out on the road. Yep. That's a lot of times why they trade them in. They don't want to deal with it. Swing by Ellis and let them get you a quote on getting it fixed, and maybe you can actually afford to fix it instead of trading it in. And maybe it's a situation where, let them just make you an offer on trading it in for you there and taking the trouble off your hands. They can do it all. EllisAutoplex.com, Highway 471 in Flowood. All right, so we got a wonky time slot here. We got about 4 minutes, and then we got our top of the hour break. So we got a little weird time slot here. Let's talk about what we can on these tariffs. This is Matthew Bishop. He is our host on the 6 a to 7 a.m. hour. Matt, have you announced about winding the show down yet?
No, not yet. Okay. But that is a plan. We're going to go to a 1 week on Saturdays from lunchtime. We're going to be going to a kind of a mixed format with politics and music, and just kind of an interesting format that I'm looking forward to. So.
Well, I think that's the direction of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of mixed format a little bit. And, the way I think it's an involvement of what happened with social media and vlogging and stuff like that is people, I think they want, like with their influencers and stuff, they want to be inside their lives. Like, what all do you really like?
Exactly.
I'll get to know you as a person a little bit more. And I think a show that's more than just one laser-focused thing. Yeah. I think there's an opportunity for that. Almost like a variety show. That's how I look at this.
Exactly. Like I said, the show's called The Full Story, but there's so many different stories out there, right? We've talked about politics, but there's stories about, the local musicians and stuff that they play. And there's so many just great stories out there that's more than just politics is important. We talk about that. We're still going to focus on that. But there's so many great stories out there that we want to make sure are getting heard and listened to.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was doing that Tuesday night show at the house with the musicians and stuff. It's like, man, I've got to expand beyond just politics, or I lose interest in talking about politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if this becomes too much of a job, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I lose interest.
You lose
in
the fun in it, right? You're like,
Exactly.
why am I in radio at the end of the day, right? It's just to get those it's just to be fun. And if you're having fun, the listeners are having fun. At least that's what I like to think.
Yep. All right, tariffs. Trump has raised up to 104% on China last night, and just got a notification in the last 10 minutes that China is increasing tariffs on U.S. products up to 84%. So we're in a duel with China on who can raise tariffs the most. I mean, I believe that America will win. China will buck first. They need us more than we need them.
Yeah, like I said, all the other countries, obviously this is reciprocal tariffs, right? That's the end of the day. That's what we're trying to remember. It's not like we're just punishing, but it's reciprocal. These are tariffs that are already put on us. We're just returning the favor, right? And so all the other countries, France and a couple of the European countries, are, all right, we want to work with America. China wants to say, you know what, we're going to try to buck the trend. We're going to up the ante. It's like, okay, if you want to play a game of chicken, who do you think's going to win? They just upped it from 34% to 84%, according to their announcement of the state council. And then, like I said, Donald Trump, after increasing to 110%. But the key thing is we just have to hold steady. It's just who's going to give in. Obviously, one weakness we have compared to them is we have our political process that they don't have. Whatever they say goes in their country. There is no room for dissension. And I just hope that our politicians can stay behind it, because, as I said, the whole point of tariffs is to have that initial pain. So to make things more expensive, to force people to produce things back here, just got to stick with it. And that's my one worry, is that a lot of these Republicans are just going to bend and say, oh man, everybody's stock market, everybody's retirement funds are getting hurt. We can't do this. Like, no, just, you got to hold out here. That's to me the scariest thing as far as politically what's going to go forward.
30 seconds or less. Can you stay over some for the second hour?
Yeah, I'll stay a little bit.
Because this is just too deep of a conversation.
It is. There's a lot going on.
Such a short time. Because I want to talk about, this is what we'll do. I want to talk about this narrative that Americans don't want manufacturing jobs, that we've moved on from that. We want tech jobs. Mm-hmm. We don't want to work.
Yeah.
We want these AI jobs and stuff of that nature. That we've moved on from that. That's for China. Yeah. That's for developing countries now, for manufacturing jobs.
It's like the liberals saying, "Oh, if you take out the migrants, who's going to work the farms?"
Yeah,
it's that same thing.
The Americans don't want jobs like that. I think that's crap. I think Americans do want jobs. You don't know what we don't want. It's the same. It's the same thing they like to say about our very own Sean Yerkron always likes to mention the iPhone. It's like you couldn't afford to buy an iPhone if it was made in America.
No.
Well, how much would it cost? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then how do you know I couldn't afford it?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm willing to find out.
Yeah. I
am willing to find out if I can afford the iPhone.
Yeah.
And it's a payment plan anyway. Okay, what, you raise it $20 a month for 36 months, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll pay it.
And we'll talk about the next one. There's a great story about Henry Ford on that exact issue that I want to talk about. It's kind of looking back, 100 years ago, but he thought about that as well, about manufacturing cars.
All right, y'all bear with us. We got some, weird little breaks coming up here, but by 8:07, when we settle into the full first segment of the second hour, we're going to have a great conversation on these tariffs. We'll be right back here on WYAB with Matt Bishop on the Clay Edwards Show. Back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We got about a minute here before our top of the hour break. So just tell you guys, coming up, we're going to be discussing tariffs and more. And depending on how long Mr. Bishop wants to stick around, I may drag him down a Stephen A. Smith for President rabbit hole and some other interesting topics that I have seen pop up. Looks like we're already in the commercial break. So we will see you guys right back here. I tell you what, online audience, I hate to make y'all sit around for 7 minutes. Why don't we hit an alternative topic?
Okay.
In the meantime,
oh
crap,
let's do it.
I had that on. Got to remember to pull that down. I forget every time. So I know there was an echo there. I apologize. Let's see here. What other topics did I put up that aren't what you call it? Tariff related. Here's one that I thought was interesting. Do you remember the Bud Light debacle?
Oh yeah, very well so.
So there was a girl that was in charge of that.
She created the ad campaign.
She created the ad campaign that destroyed Bud Light. Mm-hmm. Well, do you know what she's doing now?
I have no idea. I know they initially didn't fire her, and then she eventually resigned. It was like a whole thing. People are
big old thing. Well, she's gotten another job.
No,
Miss Super Woke. Keep in mind,
Yeah,
super duper
that's
woke.
right.
You know the super wokes don't like the Saudis, right? Like the Saudis are the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
In their world because of their views on homosexuals and
Right.
and all that, right? So,
Unless it comes to Israel.
yeah, yep. So she is now, and the Saudis started a new golf league called Live.
Yeah, very familiar with that. Yeah,
competes against the PGA.
Yeah, they paid all I remember that was a big thing with some of the PGA people going over there, and the PGA was mad. And
now there's a merger in place.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet. We'll see. And I think that competition is good.
Yeah.
I think the PGA needed a kick in the ass. And
Yeah, if someone's gonna pay your people more, it's like, well, crap. That's what it's all about, right? So like getting the best salesperson if you're a company. It's like
yeah. I mean, if you're a golfer, you love this because it's like there's two big wrestling organizations again now. There's AEW and WWE, and it's only good for the wrestlers and for the fans because people are pushing each other to.
Well, they're pushing content creation and how they're going to present it and looking at new ways to do it.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the live tournaments are trying some really interesting new things with their tournaments to get it out of that normal. And it's
very party centric.
Exactly.
It's about the event.
Right.
And everything, and it's like so kind of like everyone's kind of like the Super Bowl rolling into town.
Yeah.
A lot of other events involved, and I dig it. And I mean, just like for content creators for radio, if there's an alternative, like we're the alternative to Super Talk,
right?
So A, it helps you get more money in negotiating if there's somebody else to get a bidding war going,
right?
And B, maybe we're conservative, but we're not that kind of conservative.
Yeah.
So it creates a place for us.
A place for an alternative, and like I said, it pushes each other to create new things, too.
Yep. So, whole nother conversation there, which I would love to have sometime. Yeah. But our girl that sunk Bud Light is now working for Live. That's right.
Really?
I got the story from Outkick here. It says, let's rewind the clock back to we fought that fight here on the show, but also fought the fight from my friends at Southern Beverage who distribute.
That was the problem, right? It hurt a lot of actual hardworking people.
It did, and that's why I really hold a grudge against AB Anheuser-Busch for putting these local distributors and these salespeople in the position they did.
Yeah,
and I have moved on. I will drink Mick Ultra again, but I still prefer like a Yingling Flight over that if I can find it.
Yeah.
It's just a better beer in my opinion. But with that said, I've moved on because I don't want to hurt the people here anymore.
Yeah.
Like I know people who lost thousands of dollars out of their monthly paycheck in the like sales guys
Yeah.
here locally that I've known for 30 years took a big, big hit in their finances because of what Bud did nationally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, we got to punish Bud. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It sucks. And it won't last forever.
Yeah.
But we've got to prove a point. And the Bud Light thing was a tipping of the scales.
It was. That was a final, like, American brand going completely woke. And that was, people were just like, that was it.
That was it. All right. We got to be quiet for a second. The intro's playing for hour 2.
If nothing else, it was a good conversation.
Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. If you weren't listening online, you missed a great unplanned conversation between myself and my co-host, Mr. Bishop here. The girl that single-handedly sunk the Bud Light empire, Alyssa Schneiderheit, or
whatever it is,
Heinerschneid,
something very German.
Alyssa Heinerschneid has gotten another job, ready to destroy another brand. If you want to find out who that is, you'll have to go back and listen to the podcast later.
Great talk.
It was a good talk, good 7-minute conversation there that you're not going to get on the radio. That is going to be for the digital folks only, and I will clip it out, though, and load it up as a podcast clip, so you'll be able to go listen there. Make sure you download or subscribe to the Clay Edwards Show podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you download audio-only podcasts. Hit subscribe, and around 10:15 this morning, that will be available for your oral pleasure.
There you go.
Oral,
yeah.
Oral.
Make sure it's very close between the two.
Yeah, oral, not oral.
Yeah,
pleasure.
That's with an A.
And so enjoy that. This segment is going to be brought to you by, it would help if I had my show notes here in front of me, my advertising ad reads there. Yeah, I'd had that saved. I was going to talk about it by myself, but it was much better. Some conversations are better with somebody else.
Yeah.
But look, guys, we've been telling you about some of our new partners here. Let's tell you about one of our old ones. one of our ones that have been around for a while now. How about our good friends, the sponsor of the phone line? But by the way, the Mazda Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Mazda Jackson's April specials this month are heating up. And just like the weather, except the last couple of days.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
I always think it's funny when you know, about this time of year, all of your ads turn into the weather's heating up and the deals are too. And
Exactly.
Then you get a cold snap.
Then it gets 50 degrees, like 40 degrees. Like, what's the air conditioner guy?
It's like, I sure hope the deals are still heating up and not unlike the weather.
Yeah.
Now, you got to go back to the deals are defrosting the cold snap.
That's right. This is defrosting.
The deals are so hot.
That's how hot they are.
Yes. But look, the weather is heating up and the deals are even better or even hotter at Mazda of Jackson. Right now, at Mazda of Jackson, you can drive home your dream Mazda with low financing rates available, 2.9% for 72 months on most models, or finance for 36 months and pay just 0.9%. Guys, that's basically borrowing money for free. I mean, not all the way. That 0.9% is less than 1%. That is almost free money. If you can stomach the note for 36 months, it's going to be a little higher. But
0.9% though. I mean, that's hard to pass.
And, you know, honestly, for 72 months, 2.9%.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get a much cheaper note because you're spreading it out over 72 months. So it's just what's more important to you. Is it the complete bottom dollar, how much you paid over the term of the loan, or is it a monthly payment? Some people are different. I mean, I sold cars long enough to don't just assume everybody just wants the cheap note. Some people don't mind a higher note because they want to borrow less money.
Right.
But
even at 2.9% for 72 months, that's still pretty. That's still pretty good. Yeah.
Especially considering what prime rates are at regular banks now.
Yeah.
The auto manufacturers can do cheaper rates because it's their bank.
Right.
So, very good stuff there. It's a good time to buy a new car.
Yeah, that's what the great thing about new car is. Those financing options just better usually than you get with used cars.
Yeah, look, and I don't have their lease specials here, but usually import cars have very, very strong residual-based financing options. Mm-hmm. That's leasing. Leasing is not the dirty word it used to be. Mm-hmm. Leasing is a reward for having good credit now. Mm-hmm. And when I sold cars, I highly recommended leasing to people because, for example, 36 months in, you do a 3-year lease, you could buy out that lease for cheaper than what you would owe.
If you had bought it.
If you had bought it and were been paying on it for 36 months.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, which makes sense.
Because, I mean, they're guaranteeing what that is going to be worth. So sometimes you could buy it for cheaper. Anyway, I highly recommend at least look at a leasing option and make a real informed decision before you just buy, if you have good credit.
Yeah.
And by good credit, I mean 680 above, 700 above, somewhere in there. You know, if you're 640 below ish, I probably wouldn't shoot for leasing. You're probably going to get the best rates, but 680, 700 above, consider leasing.
Yeah.
And don't let those mileage scare you either, because normally what they do is the mileage hit will only affect you if you're trading in with another manufacturer. But like Mazda, for example, if you're trading in with Mazda, well, that's not the mileage aren't going to matter. They're not going to punish you on the mileage.
Yeah.
It's only if you go to like trade in with, say, a Toyota or something like that. Mm-hmm. So just inform yourself on leasing before. It's not the dirty word it used to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I used to write about. I used to be an automotive journalist, and one of my mentors who taught me how to write. He used to be the editor-in-chief of Car and Driver, and so you're going to get with someone who's more knowledgeable about cars.
Who's that?
William Jeans. His name is William Jeans. He was the editor-in-chief of Car and Driver, and he. After he left, he always leased cars. That's what he did. He just like getting a new car every 2 years essentially. But he leased them. And that was an editor in chief of Car and Driver. So that tells you anything. Yeah,
it's a good deal. And also, if usually when you go to a dealership and you buy a what they call a certified pre-owned, it's a lease turn-in. People who lease tend to take better care of their vehicles. So if you have the opportunity, if you see on a Carfax that it was a lease, you can guarantee that car was usually very well taken care of.
Yeah,
too.
That's how about my Jaguar. It was the lease turn-in. Now, which to me, those are the best used cars to buy, honestly, because they're certified. Like I said, they're taken care of because they were leased. They were taken in regularly, so it's always just a good deal.
The maintenance is usually included in the lease,
right?
So they're taken care of. But look, guys, they got a bunch of great financing options available. Experience Mazda's award-winning design, exhilarating performance, cutting-edge technology, top-notch safety, and reliability. It's time to choose Mazda. Shop online at MazdaofJackson.com or visit Mazda of Jackson in person, I-55 Frontage Road in Jackson. And don't forget, all new Mazdas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty as well. You can't beat that. I chose that Mazda of Jackson ad specifically to jump from that into this tariff conversation because
Absolutely.
I think,
let's just say it was perfect. It's a perfect segue.
I think cars are going to be something that, because they're such a large ticket item, it's going to be where tariffs can hurt the most. I'm not sure about Mazda. I'm not sure, if they have American manufacturing plants or not. I haven't jumped into that
that's
with them,
that's the funny thing. I mean, I just want to mention this real quick, just because we're right here. Is that I looked recently as I was studying about tariffs. I looked at the top 20 cars that are made in America, and out of the top 20, there are only 4 that from American manufacturers. 3 of those models were Teslas, which are the most American-made cars, believe it or not.
Yep.
Believe
it or not, the Toyota Tacoma at one point, the Toyota Tundra at one point was the most American-made vehicle on the roads.
Exactly. It's right underneath the Teslas.
Yep.
And then the only other American car that was on there, and it was at number 20, right, was the Corvette. Everything else on there was all mostly Japanese or German brands. So they have been investing in, they're going to be hurting probably less than, unless you buy the real expensive German brands or stuff like that, they're probably going to be hurting less than the American manufacturers who have outsourced.
How did you do that search?
That was on a car website. It was about a month or so ago, right when they were talking about. I wish I still had the link. I'd share it with you.
Here is like most American-made cars. It popped right up.
Yeah.
I'll do this while we're talking here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these tariffs, man.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of fear mongering going on out there that the sky is falling, and I knew that the sky wasn't going to fall when I saw Jim Cramer tell us the sky was going to fall.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, this is a grift. The sky's not going to fall. He's always wrong.
Yeah.
That guy runs a hustle.
I think I read somewhere, like, if you actually followed his advice, you'd be so far in the hole of his poor predictions, Jim Cramer.
It's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So tell people a little bit about these tariffs, man. What is the plan here? Let's just pretend you're talking to people who have no idea what a tariff is. This is the first time they've ever heard tariff. And I'm almost in that camp. I know a little bit more, but generally speaking, I'm looking at this from the perspective of they've been so wrong about Trump so often, and everything they've said has been wrong. Every time they said the sky was falling, it wasn't.
Right.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this because he's been right so much and they've been wrong so often.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this?
So like you said, let's just start with what's the purpose of tariffs to begin with, right? And one main purpose of tariffs is, in fact, to make things more expensive, right? We want to make foreign goods more expensive, so we promote the manufacturing of goods here in the United States. Now, the reason a lot of people are so scared about this is because our society for so long has been so reliant on these foreign-made things, right? Everything's made in China, right? You look at the store, everything's made in China. And we look at over time, that hasn't helped our country, right? We look at things like the Rust Belt. And I talked about Detroit earlier in my show, right? In Detroit, we see those crumbling and rusting factories. And what's even scarier about that is that the steel that is made, that was used to make those factories, has been torn down and shipped back to China for the very same factories that they destroyed. And so, sure, we got used to these cheap products. But at the same time, it's hurt our country over time on a long distance. That's the thing with tariffs, is that they're a long-term solution, which is kind of hard to do politically, because people in politics, they barely last a few hours on thinking about changing their position, right? Whatever the wind flows. But with tariffs, ideas, again, that short-term pain for that long-term gain. We need that correction in the country, because we've seen, like I said, our cities fall, our factories crumble and rust. And so it's time to get back there. It takes a hard correction. And Trump ran on this, right? It's nothing secret, right? Trump was very open in the campaign trail that he's going to put tariffs. And a lot of this stuff is reciprocal tariffs. And this is nothing new, right? Everybody falls apart like, America's putting tariffs, it's the worst thing in the world. But the EU's been doing it for years. They have what's called the value-added tax, the VAT, right? If you're in the EU and you buy stuff, you're used to an extra 15-20% added on to that cost of something you buy internationally. But in America, we are the largest consumer in the world, by far. So we obviously have the most effect. But we've been doing this for so long, we've been getting cheap products. But in the end, the end result is we've been getting worse jobs. We've been getting no jobs. Everything is actually getting expensive. And countries and a lot of companies now, they've just been increasing prices and just increasing their profits instead of doing that. Like like, for instance, there's a Lincoln right now that's made in China, right? And they didn't decrease the cost of that Lincoln when they moved to China, right? I think it was previously manufactured in Canada, actually. But they moved it over to China, and they didn't reduce the price of it. They just increased that profit. And that's what we've started to see. So things starting to not get cheaper, actually. And so it's going to take time. That's the thing, is you gotta have to understand it's going to be painful, because that's kind of the point of a tariff, is for it to be painful. Painful enough that there is a certain limit for every good that how much Americans are going to pay for. And it's, whatever that good is, there's a certain amount. And you got to get it high enough where one company's going to say, you know what, I'm going to move my factory to America, and that's going to cause all the others. So tariffs are tough politically, and and that's what you're seeing here. It's going to be tough for a lot of people, as with their retirement accounts. They're going to see that hit in their retirement accounts. We see the stock market again today. The futures down almost 2% at the Dow, for instance. But the idea is that it's going to come back, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So they got to reinvest into America. But like I said, I talked about Henry Ford. Henry Ford's idea is he wanted to manufacture cars that his workers could afford, right? The guy who puts together that Model T can go out and buy that same Model T, which is a great concept to have. And it's time to get back to that concept so we get away from those rusting cities.
Yeah, so NAFTA had a big part of this in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, it happened under Bill Clinton's watch, but conservative Republicans and everybody was just a bigger part of it.
Mm-hmm. It was bipartisan.
Yeah, very bipartisan. For whatever reason, let's send all of our jobs overseas. This is going to be a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, how did anybody think that was going to be a great idea? I have no clue.
Yeah.
But that's what they did. They destroyed America. They destroyed our manufacturing. They destroyed it's now the Rust Belt. They created the Rust Belt.
Exactly.
By sending all of our Midwestern jobs, mm-hmm. manufacturing jobs overseas. And it destroyed America. It destroyed the pulse of America, the heartbeat of America, so to say.
Good jobs, right? A job where someone could work 20 plus years and get a pension, right? That idea, especially for my generation, right? The idea of working at a place for 20 years and getting a pension, it's just, we don't think that's a reality, because it's not. That's
why our governments are so bloated now, because mm-hmm. those are those jobs, like PERS here in Mississippi.
That's a great point.
All those manufacturing jobs and those pensions, they shifted to government jobs mm-hmm. and whatnot. I'm just kind of thinking this out loud here, but it's been such a hot topic lately. It made me think of it, and I will blame. And I'm not an anti-union guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a pro-union guy either. I've mm-hmm. never been a part of a union. I know they get villainized a lot.
Yeah,
but I think they shoulder some of the blame.
Oh, they absolutely do
here with their compensation packages and what they've been over these manufacturing companies. And I think that's something you're going to see. When these manufacturing jobs come back, you're going to see these right-to-work states like Mississippi really.
They're going to be the winners.
We're going to be big winners mm-hmm. when these companies coming back, because they're not going to hit the Northeast and the Midwest and these super union friendly. Now that doesn't mean they can't vote these facilities into union. I mean, it happens.
It's right to work. They have the right to, right? You just don't have to be a part of one.
Yeah.
But then that company also has the right to move wherever they want to get away from that union. But again, it was a bad thing, right? It was a free trade, added to the fact the unions were getting ridiculous in their demands. The union didn't really understand their positions. And it's like, well, heck, we're $1 billion company. We could easily move out, and now we don't have to. We can do this free trade idea. So it was those two mixtures. And like I said, the unions could win big for this. But I agree with you that these southern states who have cheap land, availability of labor. Well, the availability of labor is actually a separate problem, especially here in Mississippi. But a lot of states, they have that availability of labor. So it's a very potential that the states that voted red, that voted for Trump, could see a huge boost if these companies move back. Just got to stick with it.
Well, I want to talk about that. And when we come back, I want to circle back to the conversation about the iPhone and paying more for American manufacturing. I think that is a liberal boogeyman.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's really what happens, to the extent that we can no longer afford iPhones if they were built here. No. Apple will find a way to sell you its phone.
Absolutely.
AT&T will find a way to sell you their airspace where you can afford it. I assure you.
Absolutely.
Of that. We'll be right back with Matt Bishop on the Clay Edwards Show. If you got any comments, drop them in the live stream. The Guns and Gear text line, I haven't mentioned it today. I will open it up and look at it. 769-241-1944. Phone line. If you want to call in, give us your thoughts and opinions on these tariffs. The Mazda of Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back on The Clay Edwards Show with Matt Bishop on WYAB. Welcome back into The Clay Edwards Show. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. All three great locations to serve you in Madison, downtown Brandon, and, of course, the all-new location, or the newest location there in Flowood. The Blue Plate special of the day is red beans and rice with sausage and hamburger steak. Mashed potatoes, green beans, fried okra are the sides. Only $12.50. If you want to add an extra side, only $2. But hey, look, man, maybe the Blue Plate ain't your thing. Maybe you want to go with something that's in the name. That's right. Maybe you want to try the burgers. Maybe you want to try the barbecue. The pulled pork sandwich is phenomenal. I don't get it too often, but because I just love the burgers and their wings so much. But you cannot go wrong with the pulled pork. The pulled pork nachos at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, I'm just going to say it now, are the best pulled pork nachos I've ever had.
Really?
They are that dang good. And look, they call them cheese sticks. They're not cheese sticks. I hate to break the bad news to everybody. They're cheese logs. They're as big as my forearm.
Yeesh.
Do not order the whole thing by yourself. You can order them individually.
No.
I'm just telling you.
That's how big they are.
If you're by yourself, just order a 3-piece. $2 each by yourself, and they're worth every penny of it. So check them out. My personal favorite item on the menu is the Nashville Hot Smoked Wings. They're oh so good, but they have other flavors too, not just Nashville Hot. That's just the one I have gravitated towards. I even turned some folks onto it the other day at lunch. They're like, man, that Nashville Hot is good. I'm like, I told you. I tell you, a little secret is their fries are homemade or, handmade. Hand cut. You get the wings and get some fries, and there's extra wing sauce down there.
Just drip it, sop that up.
Sop it up with the French fries. You will not regret it. Even get a little extra sauce just for that. All right, that's Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, and, of course, try one of their award-winning burgers. I like the smash burger. You can build your own, or you can try one of their custom specialty burgers, such as the black and blue or others. The bacon jam smash is great as well. The Highway 61 smash, the comeback smash, and the smokehouse smash, or the B3 smash is the build your own. All right, burgersblues.com. Don't forget they can take care of all your catering needs from 5 to 5,000 people. If you can dream it, they can cook it. It ain't just burgers. It ain't just chicken. It ain't just barbecue. They can do it all. All right, Matt Bishop.
Yes.
The big boogeyman that they like to talk about when it comes to these tariffs, particularly our liberal friends, is if the iPhone was made in America, you couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how much would it be? Well, I don't know.
Well, that goes back to what I was just saying earlier about there's a certain price that everybody's going to pay for a product, and once it gets to a certain price, no one's going to buy it. And the manufacturer knows this, right? So they're not going to price an iPhone that gets to that point. If it has to be made in America, then they'll price it appropriately.
These are some of the most profitable, richest companies in the world.
Right. They
will take a hit.
Absolutely. Well, it's not even taking a hit. Like I said, it's like, as I gave the example of the Lincoln just earlier, but iPhone the same way. They move it over there, and they don't reduce the price. They're just getting extra profit, right? So they have a lot of margin. They get the iPhone gets their thing manufactured. This place called Foxconn in China. And they are widely known as for their poor human rights issues.
Well, they have the nets around it because of suicide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it was Forbes that get a great article on Foxconn, just how bad that place is. So it probably cost them $10 to make an iPhone. I don't know that for a fact, but very, very little. All that price is in there. All that what you're paying for on the iPhone is the engineering behind it. It's the design behind it, which happens in California already, right? The most expensive part of the iPhone is already made. I say made, right? It's the research and all that is made in America.
Yeah, and it's shipped over there, right?
Yeah. So the only thing he said that's the cheapest part of the iPhone is the manufacturing part of it.
Well, then think about this. You eliminate all the shipping.
Yeah.
You're shipping it there to be put together, then it's shipped back.
Yeah.
you're going to eliminate massive shipping costs by it being made in America.
It's funny you say that because like I said last week I was in San Francisco, and just seeing all those ships come in from, you see they're Chinese ships, right? And I was just watching it. I was just sitting on the bay, and I was just watching it come in, and it was just Chinese cargo ship after Chinese cargo ship after Chinese cargo ship, and that's when you start to realize we have just become way too dependent on that, right? And that's how that's affected our economy to our detriment.
So CNN, take that for what it's worth. CNN has a new article out today, in the last 7 hours, and Google AI is parroting what they're saying, that an iPhone could triple in price to $3,500 if they're made in the U.S. Now, this is pure speculation. I'm going to 100% tell you that no, it won't.
It won't. Except people won't pay that. And like I said, the expensive part's already made here. That's not the manufacturer is real cheap. It's just glass and plastic and some chips, right?
I mean, frankly, how much of this is done by robots to begin with?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Is with AI and robots, it was they'll automate as much as they can. There's no way, because people aren't going to pay that, and so they're not going to charge that. They'd go out of business.
Then people say, "Oh, well, I thought you wanted manufacturing jobs back here, and then they're going to be done by robots." There's still a lot of jobs in those plants. Yes. Robots are not,
right?
And there's also a lot of tax dollars paid on those plants in America. Robots or not.
Yeah, and regardless if there's robot, that there's still a job here to do all of that, right? I'd rather have the robots here than over there, because they're going to be in either place regardless. I'd much rather them here and the people maintaining them here than over in China.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I agree with what you said. They will find a price point where you can afford that phone,
right?
And again, none of us are going in there and scratching a check for $1,500. None of us are scratching a check. Very few people pay for their phone up front. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some people, but I mean, overwhelmingly,
right.
You bill it in monthly. I think it's no interest. Maybe they're charging interest. I don't even know anymore. It's like $36 extra a month, whatever. You drag it out a few more months, they bump it up $20. You pay it,
right?
And you're not going to think twice about it.
Right. Well, so again, the idea of tariffs is to make things more expensive at the end of the day. That's kind of the plan. To get it, again, you want a tariff to be high enough to it gets to that point where the manufacturers say, okay, it's going to be cheaper for us to make it in America, just so we can avoid that tariff. And that's what you want them to do. You want to have that forcing function. It's not an easy one to do. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt companies in the short run. But the idea is, hey, if you don't want to get hurt, move your manufacturing back here. There's a simple solution to that. And that's the whole point and whole plan of tariffs.
I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
It's definitely going to be interesting.
You pulled up the the vehicles, right?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
The top 20 manufactured in America.
Right. It's been updated.
And and for people that don't know, like this list, it's just because it's built in America doesn't mean it's made in America.
Right.
So because parts come from suppliers from all over the place. So these lists can be a little misleading. So like just because you have a plant here in America doesn't mean it's built in America. The parts could still be coming from overseas.
So this is cars.com, and they say how they come in. So it's actually a list of like top made in America all the way down, right? And so they said they use 5 criteria: assembly location, parts content, engine origin, transmission origin, and U.S. manufacturing workforce. And so they did, this is based on the 2024 model year, 400 vehicles. So the higher it is on the list, the more of all those things we're talking. The more the parts are made in America, the more the manufacturing is done, the lower on the list. It's like the very low, just assembled here. So again, out of the top 20, the only American ones on here are Teslas and the Dodge Ram 1500, as well as the Jeep Gladiator. Everything else on here is all mostly Hondas, Toyotas, or their derivatives, so Acura and all the luxury brands of those. And I think Volkswagen is the other only one on there. But the vast majority of them are Japanese brands. So those cars, and they're the most made in America, right? Like the top 5, for instance, Tesla Model Y, Honda Passport, Volkswagen ID4, which is an EV, the Tesla Model S, and the Honda Odyssey are the top. So again, for those your Japanese cars, for a lot of them, Mazda's a little bit different because they do still make most of their stuff in their plant in Hiroshima. But but like they're the ones who are going to be probably coming out on this, and that's good, right? Because a lot of those people are here in the South, right? We have Nissan here, we have Toyota in the northern part of the state.
Yeah, you have Hyundai and Kia, and Hyundai has a plant. I think they both have plants in Alabama. Hyundai and Kia are the same thing. For people that don't know,
yeah,
they build them at the same plants. They have a Hyundai plant in Alabama, and I think they're building a new one in Louisiana as well. I think a $10 billion investment in Louisiana.
And that's what we want, right? That's what we're looking for. And they have been heavily investing in the South in the last 20, 25 years in manufacturing a lot of their vehicles here. And, you know, I hate it that it's not an American manufacturer, but jobs are jobs, you know?
Look, this is probably, I've always had this thought, like, I don't really care where the money goes back to.
Yeah.
You know, or does it supply jobs here?
Right.
Yes, I would love for Nissan to be an American-owned company. I would love for Nissan to be a Mississippi-owned company. It ain't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is. It's still a massive facility. It's still a lot of jobs. I don't like the way that they've done some things, but that's not their fault that Obamacare is still wreaking havoc on manufacturing jobs here, big jobs, because what they've done is they've taken those, you know, we circle back to more Democrat nonsense here, back to Obamacare. That ruined a lot of these jobs with these big pensions and stuff because they don't want to have to supply full-time people benefits.
Right.
So what do? They hire through Kelly Staffing and places like this, and they hire triple the amount of people, and they work them just enough.
Yeah, just under 39 hours.
39 hours.
Yeah.
But they've got way more people on staff, so to say.
Right.
And they don't have to give them benefits. And, you know, those people cannot use that income.
Right.
So you're just killing the middle class with this. What they've continued to do is it's been an attack on the middle class.
Absolutely.
And the people who have benefited from that are your elitist types, your college degree people. All these sending these jobs overseas, all this helped was your overly educated, elitist, techie kind of people.
Yeah. And people who make their money, you know, shorting the stock market.
Attorneys and banking.
Yeah.
Banking and finance are the industries that benefited the most when we sent the jobs overseas.
Yeah.
I heard a study the other day. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Maybe it was on PBD podcast or one of those.
Yeah.
But that is the industry, banking and finance, that shot through the roof, and now they're the overwhelming largest employer industry in the country.
Well, like I said, they were able to reduce costs and not really reduce the price of a lot of these things. So it worked out really well for the bottom line of these people.
It did. So we get manufacturing back over here. They took what's it called, VOTEC type courses out of high school skills.
Yeah.
You know, trades. They took trades out of defunded trades because they eliminated manufacturing jobs. We got to take another break, but I want to pick back up right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is something I'm really passionate about. We'll be right back with Matt Bishop on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Hey guys, this Saturday, not Big B's. That's what's for lunch today.
We're just talking about that.
This Saturday, Martin's, Livingston. That's right, the Madison County location. It's their big crawfish bowl. This ain't no regular crawfish bowl either. They're blocking the streets. They're closing them down. It's going to be a street party, big old block party, as we like to call them, where I grow up. It's going to be a big old block party out there at Martin's in Livingston. That's at the town of Livingston. There's a lot to do out there, and it starts at Martin's noon Saturday. And looks like noon. No, I'm sorry. Saturday, April 12th. It starts at 3 p.m. It said 12. I was like, let me read that right. Anyway, this Saturday, April 12th, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., crawfish, live beer. I'm sorry, crawfish, live music. I'll get this right.
The live beer, you know.
Live beer. I like live beer.
The beer is live.
Crawfish, live music, cold beer, and great cocktails. Music by Humid Subtropic, the Bailey Brothers, and Robbie Peoples. I'm very familiar with the Bailey Brothers and Robbie Peoples, and if Chris Robolts is doing the booking, I'm sure Humid Subtropic is really, really good as well. Chris does not miss when he books live entertainment, and that's who handles the booking for Martin's there. So does a great job. Y'all get out there, enjoy it. Family-friendly, adult-friendly, going to be a good time. Weather's supposed to be perfect. If you're looking for somewhere to eat today, consider Martin's, Livingston, or the downtown Jackson location. The blue plate special of the day is meatloaf. And I can tell you, man, Last time I talked about their meatloaf on the air, I went and got their meatloaf that day, and I had no regrets.
No regrets
Not
on
a
that
single regret. Their meatloaf was so good. I get the red gravy, the red sauce on my mashed potatoes instead of the brown gravy.
Yeah.
And man, that's a little cheat code right there. Highly recommend the
That's
red
the secret
gravy.
menu.
The red sauce on top of the mashed potatoes. You won't regret that either. If you do, don't be mad at me. Something wrong with you.
That's a you problem, not a me problem.
So circle the calendar this Saturday, Martin's. And this Sunday, don't forget, the big event out there, man, the fundraiser for my friend Bubba Wingfield out at Cypress Point Resort out there at Cameron's Garage. You know, Bubba's battling some serious stuff medically, and we're going to raise a bunch of money for him. It's going to be a massive event, expecting well over 1,000 people. Big outdoor stages set up, 2 outdoor stages for this event. I'm telling you, it's going to be huge. It's going to be like a mini festival. It starts at 11 a.m., goes until probably 11 p.m. So get done with church or whatever you got going on, get changed up, and come on out there and let's raise a little money, raise a lot of hell, do a lot of hollering, and a whole lot of swallowing. That's Bubba's catchphrase, hollering and swallowing. So get out there, have a good time. Going to be some of the best live music you've ever seen. We hope to have a lineup announcement here soon, but I've seen a sneak peek, and the fact you're getting all these folks for no cover charge, I believe it's no cover charge. Don't quote me on that. I haven't heard anything about a cover charge. It's a silent auction, be money raised and everything. So anyway, this Sunday, 11 a.m. until Cameron's Garage, the old McLean's Lodge, big fundraiser for Bubba Wingfield. So big weekend of partying plan. Saturday Martin's, Sunday there. I like it. It's going to be a rough Monday.
It'll be a tough Monday show. That's what it is.
Tough Monday. If I ain't here Monday, y'all know why. It was for a good cause.
It's for a good cause. That's right.
It was for a good cause. All right, so circling back to the tariff talk.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, you know, we say Americans don't want to do those kind of jobs anymore. Mm-hmm. Americans don't want manufacturing jobs. It's just the climate's changed, Clay. We don't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. And the Democrats have used that narrative for what they wanted to do with immigration.
Right. Americans don't want to. What are we going to do if we don't have illegal immigrants to work the farms?
Yeah.
That was their thing.
How about quit giving people welfare for no reason and you force people to work?
Yeah.
No, there's ways to remotivate people. Hunger pain will make people work.
Yeah. Well, I said, and the thing is that if they come back to America, right, there's going to be they want to get good employees to manufacture these things. So therefore, that inherently means you're going to have better benefits and a lot better than. I mean, Amazon doesn't have a problem filling out their warehouses, and that's really a lot worse jobs than manufacturing jobs, right? Mm-hmm. Again, manufacturing jobs were for a long time the core of this country because you could, like you said, there's pensions involved. And they're going to have to start getting into that again, where people could live off that one income for their whole lives, right? Their whole working lives. In fact, a lot of people could start out in the factory, get into management, go to business school, right, and work their way up to the American dream that way if they wanted to, right? There's a lot of stories of that of the early 20th century from a lot of automotive, executives started out that way, who started out from nothing to end up being a CEO. But those opportunities haven't been there. Right, and this is the opportunity to bring those things back there. And Americans, they'll work those jobs. There's no question about it. You pay enough, you pay good wages, they're going to be there. And again, they can actually afford the things that they're making, like Henry Ford wanted.
Yeah, no, I like it, man. I think that we're going to get back to being a manufacturing powerhouse. Yes, it's going to look different than it was in the 90s mm-hmm. because technology has changed. Mm-hmm. It is very robotic now. It's not necessarily a row of humans putting doors on cars and tightening bolts anymore. A lot of it's quality control stuff. It's a lot of good jobs for engineers mm-hmm. To run these computers and stuff.
To design and run them, yeah.
Yep, it is changed. But there's still going to be a lot of blue collar jobs there.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to do really good training for their staff. So I know that up here at some of our junior colleges where we're putting these new facilities at mm-hmm. are offering, they've teamed up with these companies to do their training.
That's awesome.
for their staffs. So yes, technology has changed. We're going to have to be smarter. We're going to have to be a more efficient workforce. I believe Americans have the ability to do it. Like
we've done it before.
We've done it. We've done it before. And I'm just going to be honest with you. If they can do it in Mexico,
yes.
If they can do it in Canada, if they can do it in if slave labor in China can do it, gosh dang it, I can do it. You can do it. We
As
can
Americans.
do it too.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, I think you also brought up a second point there that I forgot to mention a little bit earlier, which was, the workforce, right? And especially here in Mississippi, and make sure we're creating that workforce, making sure our high schools, like you said, VOTEC classes, right? Getting them ready, community college classes, right? And developing those skilled jobs is where we can, if we're going to, where the government can support that, right, is supporting it, the workforce, not to be these mindless government workers like we've been doing for so long, right, and that we've gotten rid of with Doge, but to be active members of society and to build the country and to actually have these jobs where they can support their family and have a good life, which was, again, the whole point of America to begin with.
Yeah, and hopefully they don't do like Nissan does, and they actually provide the benefits. And they don't try to skirt around Obamacare. Maybe we can actually finally come to a fix with Obamacare, and we're not punishing these companies. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's a risk we're going to have to take. What we're doing is not working.
No.
This is the great reset that we needed, just not the one they wanted.
Right.
Matt Bishop, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having
sitting
me.
in, man. That was a great talk. I've been avoiding tariff talk for a while now, but it was unavoidable today. I look to my folks out there in the stock that are losing money in the stock market right now. Just sit tight. You weren't. It's a long ride.
Yeah, you don't lose until you sell, right? That's the thing to remember.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just hang tight, and it's going to come back around. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But I'm willing to bet you're going to be all right.
It's going to come back.
Yep.
I'm
praying for you. I promise I am. Because if you do good, I do good. All right. I'll be right back to land the plane. Matt Bishop will not. And we will see y'all tomorrow. Take care. But I'm saying goodbye to the internet people, by the way, not the radio people. Y'all don't go nowhere. Internet people, goodbye.